December 16, 1944, 0530 hours, Ardennes Forest. Oberst Heinrich Vogel adjusts his field glasses, watching the mist rise from frozen valleys below. The 277th Volksgrenadier Division spreads across the Belgian countryside like a gray tide. Operation Wacht and Rhein rolls forward on schedule. Hitler promised this offensive would split the Allied forces, recapture Antwerp, change the tide of war itself. Vogel believes every word. The American positions look thin from his forward observation post. Scattered foxholes dot the hillsides. A few 105mm howitzers peek through camouflage nets. The 38th Cavalry Squadron holds a 20-mile front with maybe 800 men. Vogel has seen stronger defenses around training camps. His artillery officers laugh when they study the maps. The Americans spread themselves too thin. Classic mistake. Today they pay for it. Hauptmann Ernst Dietrich climbs the wooden steps to Vogel's bunker, breath steaming in the December cold. His artillery battalion waits in concealed positions 3 kilometers back. 88mm guns, 105mm howitzers, even a few of the massive 150mm pieces. Enough firepower to shatter any counterattack. Dietrich carries confidence like a weapon. The Americans have numbers, but numbers mean nothing without proper concentration of force. Herr Oberst, the forward observers report minimal enemy activity, Dietrich says, spreading his maps across the wooden table. Their artillery positions are exactly where reconnaissance indicated. 12 guns maximum. Our barrage will eliminate them in the first 10 minutes. Vogel nods, studying the terrain through his glasses. Snow covers everything in pristine white. The Americans always fight by the book. Predictable positions, standard tactics, no imagination. German officers learned creativity through necessity. For years of constant warfare forged adaptive thinking. The enemy relies on industrial production, not tactical innovation. Today proves which approach wins battles. The Volksgrenadiers move through the forest like hunting wolves. Each man carries extra ammunition, extra rations, extra determination. They know this offensive represents Germany's last chance for negotiated peace. Failure means total defeat. Success means survival. Simple mathematics drive every decision. Radio static crackles across the command frequency. Adler Base, this is Falk 1. American positions identified. No movement detected. Proceeding to phase line Alpha. Vogel checks his watch. Right on schedule. The timetable demands precise coordination. Infantry advances while artillery suppresses enemy strongpoints. Tank destroyers follow up, exploiting breakthrough zones. Classic German doctrine, refined through countless battles. The Americans never faced winter offensive operations. Their training focused on good weather, open terrain, overwhelming firepower. Winter fighting requires different skills entirely. Dietrich points to coordinates on his map. The American artillery park sits in this valley. Exposed position, no overhead cover. 3 salvos will destroy their guns completely. After that, they fight with small arms only. What about their ammunition supply? Vogel asks. Standard 105mm high explosive. Some white phosphorus for screening. Nothing sophisticated. Their shells detonate on impact or use simple time fuses. We calculated optimal spacing between our assault troops. Their artillery becomes ineffective once we close within 500 meters. Vogel smiles. American artillery doctrine emphasizes massed fires on fixed targets. German tactical mobility confuses their targeting systems. Small unit infiltration neutralizes their fire support advantage. Basic military science. The enemy never adapted their techniques to mobile warfare. They fight World War I battles with World War II equipment. Snow begins falling heavier as dawn approaches. Perfect conditions for the offensive. Weather grounds Allied aircraft, reduces observation, masks troop movements. Vogel planned this assault for months, studying every American weakness. Their cavalry squadron operates with peacetime equipment loads. No winter uniforms, inadequate medical supplies, insufficient ammunition reserves. Professional soldiers recognize amateur opponents immediately. Commence artillery preparation. Vogel orders into his radio. All batteries, execute fire mission Donner. Thunder rolls across the Ardennes as German guns open fire. Shells whistle overhead toward American positions. Explosions bloom orange against the gray morning sky. Standard barrage pattern, designed to neutralize enemy fire support. Dietrich coordinates targets through his forward observers. Every gun crew knows their assignment. Systematic destruction of enemy capabilities. The American artillery responds within minutes. Shells impact around German forward positions, but the shooting seems scattered, uncoordinated. No concentrated fires on obvious targets. No attempt to suppress German battery positions. Textbook defensive mistakes. Vogel expected better from veteran units. Perhaps the enemy lost more experienced officers than intelligence indicated. Their fire control appears disrupted, Dietrich reports. Random targeting, no observed adjustment. Standard defensive procedures. Vogel watches explosions through his field glasses. American shells detonate exactly where expected. Ground bursts crater the earth, throwing up geysers of frozen soil and snow. Impressive destruction, but poorly coordinated. His men take cover in prepared positions, wait for the barrage to lift, then continue advancing. Elementary tactics any lieutenant understands. The Volksgrenadiers push through the forest in small groups. They avoid open ground, use natural concealment, maintain tactical spacing. German infantry training emphasizes individual initiative within coordinated movement. Each squad leader adapts to local conditions. The Americans prefer rigid formations, predictable maneuvers. Such inflexibility costs battles. Radio reports flood the command frequency. Sector North reports breakthrough achieved, enemy resistance collapsing in Zone 7. American cavalry withdrawing from forward positions, everything proceeds according to plan. Vogel anticipated heavier resistance, longer delays, more coordinated counterattacks. Perhaps American morale suffers more than propaganda admits. Dietrich studies his artillery plotting board. Herr Oberst, the enemy appears to be calling for fire support. Radio intercepts indicate they requested immediate artillery assistance. How many guns can they bring to bear? Maybe 2,100 5mm howitzers from their artillery group. The 406th Artillery supports the entire sector. They cannot concentrate sufficient firepower to stop our advance. Vogel calculates distances, timing, tactical variables. 20 guns represent significant firepower if properly employed. American artillery training emphasizes volume of fire over precision targeting. They compensate for poor fire control with massive ammunition expenditure. Wasteful doctrine, but potentially effective against concentrated targets. Order all units to maintain dispersal. Vogel commands. No bunching up during the advance. Their artillery doctrine favors area targets. The sound changes suddenly. Instead of the familiar whistle thump of impact explosions, something different echoes across the battlefield. Sharp cracks overhead, like giant firecrackers detonating in midair. Vogel looks up, confused. American shells exploding prematurely. Equipment malfunction, perhaps. Artillery pieces require constant maintenance under combat conditions. Hauptmann Schmidt runs toward the command bunker, his face pale with shock. Blood seeps through his field dressing. Herr Oberst, something is wrong with their artillery. The shells explode in the air before they hit anything. But the fragments are coming down like rain. Vogel frowns. Premature detonation indicates faulty ammunition or worn gun barrels. The Americans push their equipment hard, probably skip proper maintenance procedures. Such problems multiply during sustained operations. Still, air bursts can cause casualties if troops remain exposed. Basic precaution against defective enemy ammunition. Take cover when you hear their shells incoming. Vogel orders. Wait for ground impact, then continue advancing, but the explosions keep coming overhead. Not random malfunctions, but systematic air bursts directly above German positions. Fragments rain down through tree branches, into foxholes, against personnel in the open. The timing seems impossibly precise. Each shell detonates at optimal altitude for maximum fragment dispersion. Dietrich stares at his map, trying to understand the tactical situation. Herr Oberst, this cannot be accidental. The shells explode at exactly the right height to penetrate our cover. How do they achieve such precise timing? Advanced fire control, Vogel suggests. Maybe radar-directed fusing systems. We know they have superior electronics. But doubt creeps into his voice. Radar cannot control individual shell fuses during flight. The technology does not exist. Yet these air bursts demonstrate impossible accuracy. Every shell explodes at the perfect altitude for maximum effect. No wasted rounds, no premature detonations, no impact bursts. As if each projectile contains its own targeting system. The radio crackles with panicked reports. Heavy casualties in Sector 4, air burst suppressing all movement. Request immediate medical evacuation. Cannot advance under this fire. Vogel grabs his field telephone, connecting to regimental headquarters. This is Vogel. The American artillery employs some new technique. Air burst shells with precise timing. Casualties mounting rapidly. Impossible, the regimental commander responds. Artillery shells cannot achieve such accuracy. Continue the attack as planned. But the evidence surrounds them. Shell fragments litter the forest floor. Wounded men stumble back from forward positions, their stories identical. Explosions overhead with no warning, no time to take cover. The fragments penetrate log bunkers, thick overhead protection, even armored vehicles. Nothing provides adequate shelter against this new weapon. Oberleutnant Franz Weber staggers into the command post, his uniform shredded by shell fragments. Herr Oberst, my platoon was advancing through the north sector when the American artillery opened fire. Every shell exploded directly overhead. We lost half our strength in 5 minutes. Did you hear the shells approaching? No warning sound, just sudden explosions above us. The fragments came down like hail. Men were falling everywhere. We tried to find cover, but the shells followed us. No matter where we moved, they exploded at exactly the right height. Vogel studies the tactical situation through his field glasses. German infantry units scattered across the hillside, seeking any available cover. But the American artillery finds them everywhere. Shells explode over foxholes above tree lines directly on target every time. The precision defies explanation. Dietrich plots enemy fire missions on his map. Herr Oberst, their shooting accuracy has increased dramatically. Before, maybe 1 shell in 10 caused casualties. Now every shell produces maximum effect. Either they developed miraculous fire control systems, or something else explains this performance. What kind of something else? I do not know, but conventional artillery cannot achieve such results. The timing would require individual control of each projectile during flight. Impossible with current technology. The barrage intensifies. American shells scream overhead in constant streams. Each explosion produces the same result. Perfect air burst, optimal fragment dispersion, maximum casualties. German units report mounting losses, degraded combat effectiveness, inability to advance under such fire. The offensive stalls as men seek shelter from this mysterious weapon. Hauptmann Müller, commanding the 2nd Battalion, reports via radio. All companies pinned down by enemy artillery cannot move in any direction. The shells explode overhead no matter what cover we find. Request permission to withdraw to previous positions. Denied. Vogel responds. Continue the attack. This is some temporary phenomenon, but deep uncertainty gnaws at his confidence. Professional soldiers recognize superior technology when they encounter it. These air bursts demonstrate capabilities far beyond anything in German arsenals. Each shell performs like a miniature guided weapon, detonating at precisely the right moment for maximum effect. Dietrich coordinates counter-battery fire against American gun positions. German artillery pounds the enemy fire bases with systematic precision. But the American guns continue shooting. Their shells still explode overhead with impossible accuracy. Either the enemy artillery survives the bombardment, or they employ many more guns than intelligence estimated. Herr Oberst, radio intercept reports the Americans call this weapon the posit fuse. The communications sergeant announces, some kind of special ammunition they just received. Posit. Position fuse. The name suggests location-sensitive detonation. But how could individual shells determine their position relative to ground targets? The technology required would be enormous, complex, impossible to fit inside artillery projectiles. Yet the evidence fills the sky above them. Weber returns from the aid station, his wounds bandaged but his eyes haunted. Herr Oberst, the medics say they have never seen such fragment patterns. The wounds are different from normal artillery. More concentrated, more severe. As if the shells optimize their explosion for maximum personnel effect. Describe what you observed during the barrage. The shells seemed to know where we were hiding. Even in deep foxholes, even under thick cover. They exploded at exactly the right height to send fragments down into our positions. No wasted shots, no random explosions. Every shell performed perfectly. Vogel feels cold certainty settle in his stomach. The Americans developed some revolutionary weapon system. Not just improved artillery, but fundamentally different technology. Each shell apparently contains its own guidance mechanism, its own target detection system, its own precise timing device. Impossible by any known engineering standard. The offensive collapses under the weight of this new weapon. German units report 50% casualties in forward positions. Men refuse to leave cover when they hear American shells approaching. The air bursts strip away every tactical advantage, every prepared defensive position, every concealment method. Oberstleutnant Kruger arrives from division headquarters, his staff car riddled with fragment holes. Vogel, what is your situation? Regiment reports you have halted the advance. Herr Oberstleutnant, the Americans employ some new artillery system. Every shell explodes in the air with perfect timing. Casualties are enormous. We cannot advance under such fire. Nonsense. Artillery is artillery. Adjust your tactics and continue the attack. Kruger studies the tactical map, pointing to various objectives. Standard military thinking applied to an unprecedented situation. But the sound of incoming shells interrupts his briefing. Everyone drops to the floor as explosions detonate directly overhead. Fragments punch through the bunker's log roof, spraying with splinters and metal shards across the room. Kruger emerges from cover, his uniform torn, blood seeping from multiple small wounds. What kind of shells were those? The new American weapon, Herr Oberstleutnant. Every shell performs the same way. The division commander stares at the fragment holes in his map case. Professional soldiers recognize game-changing technology immediately. These air bursts represent more than improved ammunition. They indicate fundamental advances in guidance systems, targeting methods, precision manufacturing. The kind of industrial achievement that reshapes entire campaigns. How do they achieve such accuracy? Kruger asks. Unknown. Each shell apparently detects its proximity to ground targets and detonates at optimal altitude. Beyond any technology we possess. Kruger studies the tactical situation with growing comprehension. If the Americans developed guided artillery shells, then German defensive doctrine becomes obsolete overnight. Foxholes provide no protection. Dispersion tactics fail. Even armored vehicles suffer increased vulnerability. Every tactical manual requires rewriting. Radio reports continue flooding the command frequency. Third Company requests immediate medical evacuation. Forward observers cannot function under this fire. All movement suppressed in Sector North. Ammunition resupply impossible. The Volksgrenadiers, brave soldiers who advance through Russian winters and Italian mountains, huddle in whatever cover they can find. Veterans of Stalingrad and Normandy describe this artillery as unlike anything they experienced. Not just heavier firepower, but impossibly precise firepower. Each shell guided by some invisible force to maximum effect. Hauptmann Roth, commanding the Pioneer Company, reports via telephone. Herr Oberst, my engineers attempted to construct overhead shelter against this artillery. The shells penetrate any roof we build. They seem to adjust their explosion altitude based on our defensive measures. Explain that statement. When we dig shallow foxholes, they explode low. When we build thick overhead cover, they explode higher. As if each shell evaluates our defensive position and selects optimal burst height accordingly. Vogel feels the tactical situation dissolving around him. Artillery shells cannot think. They cannot evaluate targets or adjust their performance based on defensive measures. Yet the evidence suggests exactly such capability. Each American projectile behaves like an intelligent weapon system. Dietrich attempts to coordinate defensive measures. All units, maximum dispersal. Single file movement only. Avoid concentration in any location. But the American shells find dispersed targets as easily as concentrated ones. Individual soldiers, moving separately across open ground, still suffer the same precise air bursts overhead. The weapon system appears capable of engaging any target configuration with equal effectiveness. Oberleutnant Hoffmann runs into the command bunker, his face streaked with soot and blood. Herr Oberst, the ammunition column was destroyed by this new artillery. Every truck hit by perfect air bursts. The drivers say shells followed them even while moving at high speed. Casualties? 30 vehicles destroyed, 47 men killed or wounded. The surviving drivers refused to attempt another supply run. They claim the shells tracked their movement across the entire route. Tracking movement. The phrase suggests capabilities beyond any known artillery system. Conventional shells follow ballistic trajectories, cannot change course during flight, cannot adjust to moving targets. Yet these weapons apparently engage mobile objectives with devastating precision. Kruger establishes radio contact with Corps headquarters. This is Kruger. The offensive has encountered unexpected resistance. American artillery employs some revolutionary weapon system. Request guidance on tactical countermeasures. Describe this weapon system. Artillery shells that explode in the air with perfect timing. Each projectile appears to select its own optimal burst height. Casualties are enormous. Units cannot advance under such fire. Impossible. Continue the attack as ordered. But impossibility covers the battlefield in fragment patterns and blood. German soldiers, trained professionals with years of combat experience, emerge from each barrage in what the medics describe as a dazed state. Men who survived Russian artillery, British bombing, American tank attacks, all describe this new weapon as fundamentally different. Feldwebel Steinberg, a veteran of 3 years on the Eastern Front, approaches Vogel's position during a brief lull in the firing. Herr Oberst, I have seen every type of artillery the enemy possesses. This is something completely new. The shells know where you are hiding. Artillery shells cannot know anything. Then explain how they explode at exactly the right height over every position. In Russia, maybe one shell in 20 caused significant casualties. Here, every shell performs perfectly. Something guides them to optimal effect. The tactical mathematics become clear. If American artillery achieves 5 to 10 times normal effectiveness, then German casualty rates increase proportionally. Units designed to absorb 15% losses during assault operations suddenly face 60% casualties in the same time frame. The offensive becomes mathematically unsustainable. Vogel orders withdrawal to previous positions. The Volksgrenadiers, disciplined soldiers who advance through worse situations, retreat in good order despite mounting casualties. But the American artillery follows them. Shells explode overhead during the entire withdrawal, maintaining the same impossible precision throughout the movement. Hauptmann Schaefer, executive officer of the 3rd Battalion, coordinates the pullback under constant fire. Herr Oberst, the enemy artillery maintains continuous fire on our withdrawal routes. They appear to have unlimited ammunition for this special weapon. How many shells have they fired? Hundreds, maybe thousands. Every one an air burst, every one perfectly timed. Either they possess enormous stockpiles of this special ammunition, or the weapon system is simpler than we assume. Simple weapons systems achieve mass production more easily than complex ones. If the Americans developed this technology for widespread deployment, then every artillery unit possesses the same capability. The tactical implications multiply across the entire Western Front. Night falls across the Ardennes, but the American artillery continues firing. Their shells illuminate the darkness with perfect air bursts, each explosion precisely positioned for maximum fragment effect. German units attempt night movement, hoping darkness will degrade the weapon's accuracy. No change in performance. Dietrich studies his casualty reports by lamplight. Herr Oberst, we lost 40% of our assault strength in 12 hours. Medical facilities are overwhelmed. Units report severe degradation of combat effectiveness. What about ammunition expenditure by the enemy? Constant fire throughout the day. They show no signs of ammunition shortage. Either their stockpiles are enormous, or they receive continuous resupply. Vogel contemplates the strategic implications. If the Americans mass-produced this revolutionary artillery system, then every German defensive position becomes vulnerable. Air bursts neutralize foxholes, bunkers, even underground facilities if the shells penetrate deeply enough. The entire doctrine of defensive warfare requires fundamental revision. Kruger returns from Corps headquarters with new orders. Vogel, the offensive is suspended pending evaluation of enemy capabilities. Intelligence requires detailed reports on this new weapon system. What information do they need? Technical specifications, performance characteristics, tactical effectiveness. High Command refuses to believe that artillery shells can achieve such precision without some explanation. But explanation requires understanding technology beyond German capabilities. These American shells perform like miniature guided weapons, each projectile containing its own target detection system. The engineering achievement represents industrial capacity far exceeding anything the Reich possesses. Weber leads a patrol to recover equipment from destroyed positions. They find American shell fragments scattered across the battlefield. Standard steel casing, conventional explosive residue, normal fragment patterns. Nothing unusual except the precision of placement. Each explosion occurred at exactly the altitude required for maximum personnel effect. Herr Oberst, the fragments appear identical to standard artillery shells, Weber reports. The difference lies in timing, not in explosive content. Something controls the moment of detonation with incredible precision. Radio-controlled fusing. Possible, but radio signals require transmission equipment. We detect no unusual radio activity during their barrages. The guidance system must be self-contained within each shell. Self-contained guidance systems require miniaturized electronics, precision manufacturing, advanced materials science. The technological infrastructure needed for such weapons indicates industrial capacity beyond anything Germany developed during wartime production. American manufacturing achieved standards that seemed impossible under combat conditions. Medical personnel report unusual fragment wound patterns. Standard artillery produces random injury distributions. These air bursts create concentrated damage zones precisely positioned for maximum effect. Wounds occur in patterns suggesting optimal fragment dispersion from predetermined altitudes. Dr. Friedrich examines casualties in the field hospital. Herr Oberst, I have treated artillery wounds for 3 years. These injuries follow different patterns. More severe, more concentrated, more systematically distributed. As if each explosion was engineered for maximum medical effect. Could this be psychological rather than technological? The wounds are real, the fragment patterns are measurable. Something optimizes these explosions for maximum personnel damage. Not random chance, but systematic precision. Precision requires information. Each American shell apparently knows its altitude, its proximity to ground targets, its optimal moment for detonation. Such capabilities demand sophisticated electronics miniaturized to fit inside artillery projectiles. The engineering challenge seems insurmountable with 1944 technology. Vogel compiles his report for division headquarters. American artillery employs revolutionary fusing system. Each shell explodes in air at optimal altitude for maximum fragment effect. Precision suggests electronic guidance within individual projectiles. Tactical countermeasures unknown. Recommend immediate intelligence investigation. But intelligence investigations require captured equipment, technical analysis, industrial reverse engineering. The Americans probably protect this technology with the same security applied to their most critical weapons. German forces may never understand how these shells achieve such impossible performance. Dawn brings renewed American artillery fire. The same precise air bursts, the same optimal timing, the same devastating effectiveness. German units remain pinned in defensive positions, unable to advance under such accurate fire. The offensive operation transforms into a defensive struggle for survival. Hauptmann Ludwig coordinates medical evacuation under constant bombardment. Herr Oberst, the aid stations report treating injuries they have never seen before. Fragment wounds with systematic patterns, as if each explosion was designed by medical experts to cause maximum trauma. Medical experts do not design artillery shells. Then engineers who understand human physiology design these weapons. The fragments distribute at exactly the angles required for maximum personnel effect. Nothing random about their performance. Systematic design for maximum effect. The phrase captures the essential character of this new weapon. Not just improved artillery, but weapons engineered from the ground up for enhanced lethality. American industrial capacity applied to creating the most effective anti-personnel system possible. Radio intercepts provide fragmentary intelligence about American tactics. Their artillery units call these shells VT rounds, variable time fusing systems that automatically adjust detonation timing based on proximity to targets. Each shell contains its own miniature radar system for target detection. Radar systems inside artillery shells. The technological achievement represents advances in electronics, miniaturization, mass production that reshape understanding of industrial capabilities. If the Americans mass-produce radar-guided artillery shells, then their manufacturing capacity exceeds all previous estimates. Dietrich studies captured American technical manuals recovered from abandoned positions. Herr Oberst, their documents reference something called proximity fuses, shells that detonate when they approach within optimal range of targets. The technology appears to be standard equipment across their artillery units. Standard equipment means mass production. Exactly. Not experimental weapons, but regular ammunition. They equipped their entire artillery force with these guided shells. The strategic implications multiply exponentially. If every American artillery unit possesses proximity-fused ammunition, then German tactical doctrine becomes obsolete throughout the Western Front. Every defensive position, every troop concentration, every supply movement faces this enhanced threat. Oberstleutnant Brenner arrives from Army headquarters with technical intelligence specialists. Vogel, High Command, requires detailed analysis of this new weapon. Our experts will examine fragments, interview survivors, evaluate tactical effectiveness. The technical team establishes their equipment in a protected bunker, analyzing shell fragments under microscopes, testing electrical components, measuring blast effects. Standard reverse engineering procedures applied to revolutionary technology. But understanding requires captured complete examples, not just battlefield debris. What have you determined? Vogel asks the senior technician. The fragments contain unusual materials. Advanced metallurgy, precision manufacturing, miniaturized components that exceed our industrial capabilities. These shells incorporate technology we cannot reproduce with current German production methods. Cannot reproduce. The phrase captures the fundamental challenge facing German military production. American industry achieved manufacturing standards that require years of development, massive capital investment, unprecedented coordination between technical and military requirements. The proximity fuse represents industrial mobilization beyond German capacity. Vogel surveys the battlefield through his field glasses. German positions scattered across the hillside, units depleted by constant artillery fire, men refusing to expose themselves when they hear incoming shells. The Volksgrenadiers, veteran soldiers who advanced through every major campaign, described this artillery as unlike anything they experienced. Unteroffizier Beck, wounded during the morning barrage, provides testimony to the technical intelligence team. Every shell exploded directly overhead. Perfect timing, perfect altitude. Even when we moved between positions, the shells found us, as if they tracked our movement. Describe the sound of approaching shells. Normal whistle until just before impact. Then sudden explosion in the air above us. No warning, no time to take deeper cover. Fragments rain down like steel hail. Steel hail from perfect air bursts. The phrase becomes common among German survivors. Men who lived through Stalingrad, Kursk, and Normandy all use similar descriptions. Not just heavier artillery, but fundamentally different artillery that neutralizes every defensive technique. The technical specialists complete their preliminary analysis. Herr Oberst, these shells incorporate electronic components beyond our current understanding. Miniaturized radio equipment, precision timing mechanisms, advanced materials throughout. The technological sophistication suggests industrial capabilities far exceeding German production. Can we develop countermeasures? Unknown. Without complete examples, we cannot determine the operating principles. Electronic jamming might prove effective, but we lack sufficient technical information for equipment design. Electronic jamming requires understanding target frequencies, signal characteristics, vulnerability points. Defensive measures against unknown technology become essentially impossible without detailed technical intelligence. German forces must adapt tactically to weapons they cannot comprehend technically. Vogel receives new orders from division headquarters. Suspend offensive operations. Establish defensive positions. Avoid concentration of personnel. Minimize exposure to enemy artillery. Intelligence priority. Capture intact American proximity fuse for technical analysis. Capture intact fuses requires recovering unexploded American shells. But proximity fuses detonate based on target proximity, making unexploded recovery extremely difficult. The weapon system design apparently minimizes the possibility of technical compromise through battlefield recovery. Hauptmann Richter leads a technical recovery patrol toward American positions during the night. Herr Oberst, we will attempt to locate unexploded shells for intelligence analysis. The technical specialists require complete examples for proper evaluation. Exercise extreme caution. These weapons may incorporate anti-tampering devices. The patrol returns before dawn empty-handed. No unexploded shells located. Herr Oberst. Every American round detonated as designed. The weapon system appears to have extremely high reliability. High reliability indicates mature technology, extensive testing, refined manufacturing processes. Experimental weapons suffer frequent malfunctions, inconsistent performance, operational limitations. These proximity fuses demonstrate the characteristics of perfected weapon systems ready for mass deployment. Medical reports describe mounting psychological effects among German personnel. Veterans of multiple campaigns exhibit symptoms resembling combat exhaustion after exposure to proximity-fused artillery. The precision of the air bursts creates psychological pressure beyond that produced by conventional weapons. Dr. Friedrich submits his psychiatric evaluation. Herr Oberst, soldiers exposed to this new artillery display unusual stress symptoms. They describe feeling hunted, pursued by weapons that track their movement. The precision creates psychological pressure exceeding that of random artillery fire. How does precision increase psychological effects? Randomness allows hope for survival. Precision suggests inevitable targeting. When every shell performs perfectly, soldiers conclude that evasion is impossible. This knowledge destroys confidence in survival techniques. Destroyed confidence in survival techniques translates directly into combat ineffectiveness. Soldiers who believe their protective measures are useless will not expose themselves for tactical objectives. The proximity fuse achieves psychological warfare effects in addition to enhanced physical destruction. Kruger establishes communication with neighboring units facing the same threat. Vogel reports indicate American forces deploy these proximity fuses across the entire front. Every artillery unit apparently possesses this capability. The weapon represents standard equipment, not limited deployment. Standard equipment across the entire American artillery force means industrial production measured in millions of units. The manufacturing achievement required for such massive deployment indicates economic mobilization beyond anything Germany accomplished during total war conditions. Vogel studies intelligence summaries describing American industrial capacity, factory production statistics, workforce numbers, raw material consumption, technological development programs. The proximity fuse represents just one example of advanced weapons systems emerging from American manufacturing. Herr Oberst, if they mass-produce these guided artillery shells, what other advanced weapons might they possess? Dietrich asks. Unknown. But if they achieve such technological sophistication in artillery fuses, similar advances probably exist in other weapon systems. We may face multiple revolutionary technologies simultaneously. Multiple revolutionary technologies deployed simultaneously across different weapon systems. The possibility suggests coordinated technical development programs integrating advanced electronics into various military applications. American industry apparently achieved systematic technological superiority. Radio intelligence reports American artillery units requesting VT ammunition for specific targets. The proximity fuses appear to be employed selectively against high-value objectives rather than for general bombardment. This suggests ammunition remains expensive despite mass production. Selective employment indicates the shells cost more than conventional ammunition, Dietrich observes, but they achieve much greater effectiveness per round. The cost-benefit analysis probably favors proximity fuses for critical targets. Cost-benefit analysis applied to revolutionary weapons technology. American forces apparently possess sufficient production capacity to employ advanced ammunition based on tactical requirements rather than supply constraints. Such industrial flexibility represents strategic advantage beyond pure military capability. The day continues with sporadic American artillery fire. Each barrage demonstrates the same characteristics: perfect air bursts, optimal timing, maximum fragment effect. German units adapt by remaining dispersed, avoiding movement during daylight, minimizing exposure to observed fire. Adaptive tactics provide limited protection against weapons designed to neutralize defensive measures. The proximity fuses perform effectively against dispersed targets, mobile units, concealed positions. Traditional infantry protective techniques prove inadequate against this enhanced artillery threat. Evening brings a temporary lull in the bombardment. German units attempt resupply operations under cover of darkness. But the American artillery resumes firing during movement, suggesting observation capabilities or target detection systems that function effectively at night. Night firing with precision air bursts indicates advanced fire control systems beyond visual observation. Radar-directed artillery, electronic target detection, infrared surveillance, or other technical capabilities that enable accurate shooting regardless of visibility conditions. Vogel compiles his final report as snow continues falling across the Ardennes. American proximity fuses represent revolutionary artillery technology. Enhanced effectiveness eliminates tactical advantages of dispersal, concealment, mobile tactics, countermeasures unknown. Recommend immediate strategic assessment of technological threat. But strategic assessments require technical understanding, industrial analysis, long-term planning capabilities. The proximity fuse appears to represent American technological superiority that cannot be countered with available German resources. The weapon system reshapes tactical warfare. Medical evacuation continues throughout the night. Wounded soldiers describe identical experiences. Perfect air bursts overhead, fragments penetrating all available cover, wounds concentrated for maximum effect. The systematic precision suggests weapons designed by teams of specialists optimizing every aspect of performance. Teams of specialists working on weapons optimization. The phrase captures the essence of American wartime industrial organization. Coordinated technical development, systematic testing, mass production engineering, quality control procedures that produce weapons achieving theoretical maximum effectiveness. Dawn reveals the tactical situation with brutal clarity. German forces pinned in defensive positions, unable to advance under proximity-fused artillery fire, suffering continuous casualties from weapons they cannot counter with available resources. The offensive operation terminated by American technological superiority. Kruger receives orders for general withdrawal to defensive lines. Vogel, the offensive is cancelled. All units will establish defensive positions and await further instructions. High Command acknowledges the effectiveness of American artillery improvements. Artillery improvements. The phrase minimizes the revolutionary nature of proximity fuses. Not improvements, but fundamental advances that reshape battlefield effectiveness. Each shell performs like a guided weapon optimized for maximum target destruction. The Volksgrenadiers withdraw under constant artillery fire. Professional soldiers maintaining discipline despite facing weapons beyond their understanding. The proximity fuses follow them throughout the movement, demonstrating consistent effectiveness against mobile targets. Vogel watches his men retreat through the forest, hunched against the falling snow and the falling fragments from perfect air bursts overhead. Veterans of multiple campaigns, reduced to seeking whatever cover they can find against weapons that neutralize every protective technique they learned. The Battle of the Bulge ends not with dramatic tank battles or heroic infantry charges, but with German forces unable to advance against American artillery that transforms near misses into direct hits. Technology determines tactical outcomes more decisively than courage, training, or experience. Hauptmann Weber approaches the command post carrying a fragment of American shell casing. Her Oberst, the technical specialists, identified markings indicating mass production. Serial numbers suggest thousands of these shells manufactured monthly. Thousands monthly represents industrial capacity beyond German understanding. The proximity fuse requires precision electronics, advanced materials, sophisticated assembly procedures. Such production rates indicate American manufacturing capabilities that exceed all previous estimates. Vogel studies the shell fragment, noting the precision machining, advanced metallurgy, miniaturized components visible through the damaged casing. Industrial achievement that requires years of development, massive capital investment, coordination between military requirements and civilian manufacturing capabilities. The proximity fuse revolution begins in American laboratories, moves through testing facilities, expands into mass production lines, deploys across artillery units worldwide. Systematic technological development that transforms theoretical possibilities into battlefield realities. German forces establish defensive positions, dig deeper foxholes, construct thicker overhead cover. But proximity fuses render such measures ineffective. The shells adjust their burst height to penetrate available protection, maintaining optimal fragment distribution regardless of defensive improvements. Adaptive weapons that counter defensive measures. The technological sophistication suggests feedback mechanisms, target evaluation systems, automated optimization procedures within individual artillery shells. Capabilities that require miniaturized electronics approaching science fiction standards. Intelligence reports describe American artillery units training specifically for proximity fuse employment. Specialized techniques, modified fire procedures, tactical doctrines optimized for enhanced weapon effectiveness. The technology integration indicates systematic military adaptation. Systematic military adaptation requires time, training resources, doctrinal development, equipment modification. American forces apparently completed such programs before deploying proximity fuses in combat. Coordinated technological and tactical preparation that maximizes weapon system effectiveness. Vogel receives his reassignment orders as German forces consolidate defensive lines. The Volksgrenadiers, depleted by proximity-fused artillery, reorganize into defensive positions designed to minimize exposure to air-burst weapons. Tactical adaptation to technological reality. The proximity fuse represents more than improved ammunition. The weapon embodies American industrial capacity, technological sophistication, systematic development programs, mass production capabilities, tactical integration procedures that coordinate multiple elements into battlefield effectiveness. German soldiers, returning from their first encounter with proximity fuses, describe weapons that seem to think, that adjust their performance based on target characteristics, that achieve impossible precision through unknown mechanisms. Technology sufficiently advanced to appear supernatural. Sufficiently advanced technology appears supernatural to those lacking technical understanding. The proximity fuse operates through principles comprehensible to electronics engineers but mysterious to infantry soldiers experiencing perfect air bursts overhead without explanation. American artillery units continue firing throughout the German withdrawal, demonstrating unlimited ammunition supplies for proximity-fused shells. Mass production, efficient logistics, industrial mobilization that supports sustained employment of advanced weapon systems regardless of cost. Sustained employment regardless of cost indicates economic capacity beyond military requirements. American industry apparently produces proximity fuses in quantities exceeding tactical necessity, enabling psychological warfare through demonstration of overwhelming technological superiority. The Ardennes offensive, planned as Germany's last chance for negotiated peace, collapses under proximity-fused artillery fire. Not defeated by superior tactics or overwhelming numbers, but by weapons technology that neutralizes German tactical advantages through enhanced effectiveness. Enhanced effectiveness through technological precision. American proximity fuses transform artillery from area weapons into precision instruments, increasing lethality by factors of 5 to 10 through improved timing rather than larger explosions. Vogel compiles his final combat report as snow covers the abandoned German positions. Proximity fuses represent fundamental advancement in artillery effectiveness. Tactical countermeasures unknown. Technology indicates American industrial capabilities exceeding all previous intelligence estimates. Strategic implications require immediate evaluation. Strategic implications multiply beyond tactical effectiveness. If American industry mass-produces proximity fuses, similar technological advances probably exist throughout their weapons inventory. Guided bombs, smart torpedoes, precision missiles, electronic warfare systems. German forces, withdrawing through the Ardennes Forest, carry knowledge of weapons beyond their technological understanding. Professional soldiers reduced to describing artillery shells that seem alive, that track targets, that optimize their performance through unknown mechanisms. Unknown mechanisms operating within familiar weapon systems. Proximity fuses employ conventional explosives, standard fragment patterns, normal ballistic trajectories. Only the timing changes, but perfect timing transforms conventional artillery into precision weapons. The Battle of the Bulge ends with German acknowledgement of American technological superiority. Not superior numbers or better tactics, but advanced weapon systems that neutralize tactical skill through enhanced effectiveness per round fired. Enhanced effectiveness per round multiplies across industrial capacity to produce battlefield dominance. American artillery units, equipped with proximity fuses, achieve destruction levels previously requiring much larger ammunition expenditures. Efficiency through technology rather than mass. Vogel watches the last German units disappear into the forest, carrying wounded comrades and stories of weapons that explode overhead with impossible precision. Veterans of multiple campaigns describing artillery unlike anything they experienced during years of combat. Artillery unlike anything experienced by professional soldiers suggests technological advances beyond incremental improvement. Revolutionary rather than evolutionary development that reshapes fundamental assumptions about weapons effectiveness and battlefield survival. American forces advance through positions abandoned under proximity-fused artillery fire. They find German equipment, tactical manuals, intelligence reports describing their technological achievement. Documentation of weapons impact that exceeds theoretical calculations. Exceeds theoretical calculations through precision manufacturing, systematic testing, coordinated development programs that transform laboratory experiments into mass-produced battlefield weapons. American industry achieving technical standards that seemed impossible under wartime constraints. The proximity fuse represents American answers to German tactical excellence. Superior technology compensating for potential disadvantages in training, experience, tactical innovation. Industrial solutions to military challenges through systematic technological development. Systematic technological development requiring massive resource allocation, coordinated research programs, integration between civilian and military requirements. American economic capacity applied to systematic military advantage through advanced weapons technology. German forces retreat eastward, carrying knowledge of American proximity fuses back to defensive lines throughout the Reich. Intelligence reports describing weapons technology that requires fundamental revision of tactical doctrine, defensive planning, strategic assessment. Fundamental revision of strategic assessment acknowledges American technological superiority beyond pure industrial capacity. Advanced electronics, precision manufacturing, systematic quality control, mass production engineering that exceeds German capabilities developed during total war mobilization. The proximity fuse war continues beyond the Ardennes, deployed against German positions throughout the Western Front. American artillery units employ guided shells against defensive positions, supply concentrations, troop movements. Technology multiplying tactical effectiveness systematically. Systematic multiplication of tactical effectiveness through precision timing rather than larger explosions. American engineers apparently optimized proximity fuses for maximum personnel effect while minimizing material requirements. Efficiency through technological precision rather than resource expenditure. German military leaders, analyzing proximity fuse effectiveness, acknowledge technological defeat. Their forces cannot counter weapon systems beyond their industrial capacity to reproduce. American technology achieving battlefield dominance through systematic advancement rather than incremental improvement. Systematic advancement through coordinated development programs, massive capital investment, integration between military requirements and civilian manufacturing capabilities. The proximity fuse represents American industrial mobilization applied to technological warfare. Proximity fuses continued destroying German tactical effectiveness throughout 1945. Perfect air bursts over defensive positions, supply columns, troop concentrations. American artillery transformed into precision weapons through electronics miniaturized into individual shells. Electronics miniaturized into individual shells represents manufacturing achievement requiring specialized facilities, precision assembly procedures, quality control systems that ensure consistent performance. Industrial capabilities developed through systematic investment rather than wartime improvisation. The war ends with German acknowledgement of American technological superiority demonstrated through proximity fuses, radar systems, advanced aircraft, electronic warfare equipment. Technology determining strategic outcomes more decisively than traditional military factors. Traditional military factors subordinated to technological capabilities through systematic development programs that coordinate research, testing, production, deployment into battlefield effectiveness. American industry achieving military dominance through technological precision rather than quantitative superiority alone. German soldiers, returning from encounters with proximity fuses, describe artillery shells that seem guided by invisible forces to optimal effect. Veterans of multiple campaigns acknowledging weapons beyond their understanding or countermeasures. Beyond understanding or countermeasures because proximity fuses operate through principles requiring technological infrastructure unavailable to German industry under wartime conditions. American manufacturing achieving standards that exceed German capacity through systematic development rather than emergency production. The proximity fuse revolution demonstrates American industrial capacity applied to systematic military advantage through technological precision. Enhanced weapons effectiveness achieved through electronics, manufacturing, coordination that transforms theoretical possibilities into battlefield realities. Battlefield realities shaped by technology rather than traditional military virtues. American proximity fuses neutralizing German tactical excellence through weapon systems that optimize their own performance based on target characteristics. Technology achieving warfare dominance through systematic precision. Systematic precision through coordinated development, testing, production, deployment that integrates multiple technical elements into enhanced battlefield effectiveness. The proximity fuse represents American answers to military challenges through technological solutions rather than traditional approaches. Technological solutions requiring industrial infrastructure, capital investment, technical expertise, systematic organization that coordinates civilian and military requirements into advanced weapon systems. American industry achieving military dominance through technological revolution rather than incremental improvement. The proximity fuse story ends with American artillery units firing guided shells across multiple theaters, neutralizing enemy defensive measures through technological precision rather than overwhelming firepower. Technology multiplying effectiveness through systematic advancement. Systematic advancement through American industrial capacity applied to military requirements through coordinated development programs that transform laboratory experiments into mass-produced battlefield weapons, achieving theoretical maximum effectiveness through technological precision rather than resource expenditure. American proximity fuses represent technological warfare, achieving battlefield dominance through systematic precision rather than traditional military advantages. Industrial solutions to tactical challenges through advanced electronics integrated into conventional weapons systems for enhanced effectiveness. Enhanced effectiveness through technological precision demonstrates American industrial capacity, achieving military superiority through systematic development rather than emergency production. The proximity fuse revolution reshapes warfare through technology applied systematically to battlefield requirements.